is another episode of Law on a Gravel Road. I'd like to appreciate everybody that's viewed our initial podcast and my guests that I had. We've had a great response, and we're ready for more. My guest today is Allie Bedwell. She's an attorney from Osceola, Iowa, a rural practitioner, and we'll be visiting about rural practice, how she got into rural practice, and some other things today. So welcome, Allie.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you for doing this podcast and for having me on. I'm really excited to be here.
I really appreciate you taking the time to do that. So where are you from?
I'm originally from New Virginia, Iowa. I grew up on a family farm in southern Iowa, so originally from New Virginia. Now I live in Norwalk, Iowa, so about 45 minutes from Osceola.
Okay. And we met through the Iowa State Bar Association, probably about a year ago.
Yes, I believe at the rural practice roundtable that you and Harry had in my 5B district, I believe is where we first met.
And you're really active in the ISBA. What role do you currently hold?
Well, right now I'm a part of the Young Lawyers Division. I'm a district representative for the Young Lawyers Division. I originally joined the Iowa Bar Association in law school, actually. They promoted us all to sign up because it was free as law students, and then I became an attorney, and my colleagues really encouraged me to sign up. They really promoted the Iowa Bar Association, so I renewed my membership and am happy that I did.
And what district do you represent? Is it several counties or what area?
Yes, so I'm the 5B district, which is southern Iowa. I believe it's made up of 7 counties. I don't know, you're testing me on that one.
What are some of the other benefits of a young attorney in joining the ISBA?
So one of the major benefits that I've really been enjoying now is the annual meeting, which is going on this week. I think as young Iowa Bar members, we get to come for free. So I've really been taking advantage of that. I came on Monday for a few CLEs and coming again tomorrow and even today a little bit. And I've really been enjoying that membership perk. I've also enjoyed the membership directory. That's been really nice for me as a rural practitioner, being able to easily access attorneys' email addresses, their locations and things to reach out to people for guidance and advice, and that's another perk that I've really enjoyed. Another really big one for our firm in general is the Iowa Docs
I use those
perk.
every day.
Oh my goodness, that's great with all of the forms and things. That's been a really great resource for me.
Yeah, I use that every day, and it's really helpful to assemble documents.
Oh,
and just gives you a
absolutely.
huge start and takes less time than to do it yourself.
Completely.
When did you decide you wanted to become an attorney?
I have wanted to be an attorney almost all of my life. My parents joke that I was saying that when I was young, and they were like, I don't know, maybe you should consider a second alternative. But I have always wanted to be an attorney for as long as I can remember, and I'm really glad that I saw it through. I think the reason that I wanted to become an attorney was because I didn't really see attorneys accessible in my life. We never went to lawyers. We never really talked about getting legal help. And I think now, putting into practice why I wanted to become an attorney and helping the rural area has really been able to see why I wanted to become an attorney come to fruition.
That's great. Where did you go to law school?
I went to Drake University for law school. I also went to Drake for undergrad.
Oh, I didn't realize you went to both.
Yes.
Did you look at any other law schools?
I did. I looked at Iowa and Creighton, of course, and then a few law schools in Illinois as well. But ultimately, I knew that I kind of wanted to stay in Central Iowa area. So I thought, why leave Central Iowa and make those connections early to really think about my future here.
Yeah, Drake's a great place. Being in Central Iowa, there's so many opportunities with businesses in the Des Moines area if you want to practice in the government or insurance or things like that. But if you want to practice in Central Iowa, it's a perfect place to go.
Absolutely, completely agree.
Why did you, so I understand you interned in rural Iowa. Was that after your 1L year?
Yes, I interned there after my 1L year, so my first summer in law school. I came to law school not exactly sure what I wanted to do, what area I wanted to practice, or anything like that. So I reached out to some attorneys in Des Moines. That's a lot of what my classmates were doing, was reaching out to attorneys in the Des Moines area, and nothing really stuck out to me, and nothing was really like coming to fruition. So I went to the career development office and was seeking some help to figure out what I wanted to do for the summer. And they said that a law firm in Osceola just put up a job posting if I'd be interested in interviewing with them. And I didn't think it would hurt. I mean, no harm in just interviewing. So I went down and I interviewed with them for my first summer out of law school, and instantly I met with the two partners there, and I could just tell their passion for not only the law, but their clients and the firm and the community, and just the opportunities and the excitement they had about me just even being there to interview. And I was like, I think this would be a great opportunity for my first summer.
I think it's interesting that you didn't know you had an interest in rural practice.
Yes.
Until you were actually exposed to it.
Oh, absolutely. I had no idea. Honestly, I thought I may be better off not going back to a rural area because that's where I grew up. I grew up in a rural town. I went to a school where I graduated with 60 kids from my high school. I was like, well, I want to stay in Des Moines. And it turned out I did not want to stay in Des Moines. I interned in Osceola for my first summer, and they invited me back for my second summer, and I enjoyed it so much and enjoyed the people so much, my colleagues and the clients and community, that I decided to stay for my second summer, and then they offered me a job after, and I wouldn't change that looking back.
I interviewed 2 Drake Law students that did scholarships or internships in rural Iowa,
Yes.
similar to yours, and those were the Raji scholarships.
Yes.
And what is that? I can never remember what it stands for, but it's Rural Access to Justice
Initiative. Yes,
Okay,
I
that's what I
believe
thought.
so.
I'm glad I
Yes.
finally got that down. So did you do that program as well?
I believe I did. So when I told the career development office that I interviewed with the Osceola firm and I had accepted the position, they told me that there was an application to fill out and some potential money that I could get for interning in a rural area for the summer. I didn't technically at that time know that it was the Raji scholarship. Now looking back, I do, but that was a great resource for me because my husband and I were living in Norwalk at the time and working in Osceola, so it was about a 45-minute commute for me, and that scholarship helped me afford the gas money that I maybe wouldn't have had to spend if I stayed in Norwalk or Des Moines or the Des Moines Metro. So that was a great opportunity, and I know some of my classmates also really benefited from that as well.
I think that's a great opportunity. As you mentioned, you don't want to give up your place. Lots of law students live in Des Moines,
Exactly.
and they can't give up their apartment and then rent something in rural Iowa and pay
Exactly.
rent on 2 places. So that's a great benefit to kind of help defer some of the expenses.
Completely agree, and it was so nice too because I think the intention was a lot for that to cover housing, but it was really nice of them to extend that to me where it was more of like a travel expense, and they considered mine just as much as everyone else's, so I thought that was really nice.
That's great. So before you interned, did you have any thoughts of what rural practice might be? Had you thought about it?
Honestly, I had not, because rural practice wasn't really something I considered. After I interned with the 2 partners, I then thought about it, of course, and they told me a little bit about what they do, estate planning, probate. A lot of that I still did not really know what that meant, so a quick Google search helped me know a little bit more. But after interning there, I learned so much about not only like what my office did, but what other rural practitioners did and how different rural practice can be from one office to another, which I found was so interesting.
I think that's so fascinating too, because everybody has different practice areas and ways they practice and things that they do. Did law school shape your view of what rural practice might be? Was there much discussion in law school about it?
Honestly, when I was in law school, I don't feel like there was much discussion about it. Like I said, a lot of my classmates were going to Des Moines firms. A lot of the job fairs were Des Moines firms. So I didn't have much exposure to rural practice. I know recently Mason of my office and I went up to Drake University and we spoke to students interested in rural practice, 1L students. And I thought that was great. And I kind of wish they had done something like that for me when I was in law school. So I'm glad to see that they're kind of implementing those things because I think it's really important to get some exposure to rural practice.
Now, did you initiate that discussion with Drake or did they reach out to you?
No, actually, they had reached out to us, our firm, to come up and talk with students. And we had a great turnout and so many questions. It was wonderful.
That's great that they're taking that initiative when you hadn't had that same experience. So
Exactly.
I'm glad to hear that they're reaching out for that.
Yes.
This probably, you kind of answered this question already, but do you think Drake actively engages, or most law schools, do they engage in teaching people about rural practice, or what are your thoughts?
I feel like in my experience, I didn't have the experience where they did. Again, going back to like the Raji scholarship, I think maybe if that was advertised a little bit more when I was in school, maybe that would have incentivized me even more to look into these rural job postings or reaching out to rural attorneys. But I hope that they're maybe turning a leaf in that and inviting, like I said, my colleague and I to talk to students. I hope that they're really taking the time to invite rural practitioners to the school or connecting at least rural practitioners and students because I think there's a lot of opportunities in rural Iowa and a great connection to make.
And it's really nice that they ask young rural practitioners to get your perspective because
Right.
you're going to be able to relate more to what the law students are thinking about and what questions they have.
Absolutely.
So that's a great relationship. Were there any professors or programs that Drake offered that kind of helped you decide your career path, you know, what you do now or anything like that?
Yeah. So one of the reasons I also went to Drake was because of their agriculture law program. Like I said, I was raised on a farm. My family's fourth generation farmers, and I'm really passionate about agriculture. And so being a part of that ag law program was really important to me, and I feel like I really got a lot of benefit out of that. And going along with that, Professor Jenny Zwagerman, who's in charge of that program, was a great resource for me. And then Adjunct Professor Kit Tovar Jensen was another wonderful resource. She was great, and she was actively practicing too, which was a really unique experience, and I was able to pick her brain a lot about practice and also just learning from her classes and things. So those were great resources to have.
Jenny Zwagerman, the head of the Ag Law
Yes.
program, she's just phenomenal.
Oh, she's great.
I don't know if I've told you this, but she graduated a year ahead of me in law school.
Oh, really? No, I didn't know that.
She graduated a year ahead with me, and then she went into private practice for a little bit,
Okay.
but I was really glad to see her go to Drake.
Oh, yeah, she's a great resource for Drake.
She is, and really active in promoting agriculture and everything to go along with
Absolutely.
that, and has really built that program.
Yes, and I think that is something that sets Drake apart a little bit around this area. I think, like I said, one of the reasons that I really enjoyed Drake.
I think it's one of the few law schools in the country that really focuses a lot on ag.
I think so,
and,
too.
Neil Hamilton,
Oh, yes.
had a great deal to do with that
Absolutely.
too, and Jenny's a great successor
Yes.
and has really built that.
And former Dean Anderson as
Yes.
well. He was a very important role in that as well.
Yeah, he's great too.
Yes, wonderful.
Did you have Dean Anderson for any classes?
I did. I took environmental law with him, and that was a great experience. And I also loved to pick his brain. He was wonderful.
He was my property professor.
Oh, really?
When I was a 1L, and he was just fantastic.
That-
That
I
was
bet.
before he became the dean.
Yes,
but,
yes. No,
yeah,
that would be great.
He's one of the best. So, did anyone try to discourage you from when you said you wanted to go to rural Iowa and practice?
Yeah.
Did anybody try to discourage you from that, or?
Yeah,
Give any
so
thoughts?
I was in a bar class at Drake, one of the courses that are encouraged before you take the bar exam with a lot of other students. And one of the professors in that class had made a comment about general practitioners and also rural practitioners, and maybe even lumping those two together, and how maybe some negative connotations to those things, which was a little discouraging to hear. I was in my third year and I'd already committed to joining a general practice and rural practice, and I was like, oh no, have I made a grave mistake of accepting this job? Is this something people look down on? I immediately then went and talked to Professor Zwagerman, and she was like, you need to go experience this. And if that's how you feel after you experience it, then sure, you can always change jobs, but don't take what one person says as what is true. And I was like, you're right. I don't want to be discouraged by just one person's opinion or comment.
That's great advice.
Yes, it was.
One of the things I've been thinking about as bar president is, do attorneys need to educate the professors about what rural practice is like? Because
Right.
professors are trying to do the best for you and give you the best advice that they can.
Oh, absolutely.
But if they don't know about rural practice and really what it is,
Right.
how can they understand when somebody expresses an interest? So-
Exactly. And that's something that Ginny and I had talked about, because she was like, this professor has no idea of where you're going or what practice areas you're going to be participating in. So that's like more of a general statement that isn't always necessarily true.
And your firm, you're with the Reynoldson firm, which is
Yes.
a very prestigious firm. It could be anywhere and be a prestigious firm. But tell me a little bit about some of the history of what your partners have done.
Oh, absolutely. I feel very lucky to be where I am. Like you were saying, it's a very prestigious firm. We've had many judges come out of the firm, and including former Supreme Court Justice Ward Reynoldson. Ward's son, Bob Reynoldson, is still a partner at the firm, and Judge Reynoldson is a current judge in the 5B district and surrounding. We've also had Judge Lloyd and Judge Kimes come out of the firm. Yeah, it's a very impactful firm with a lot of really important people who have worked there and made a difference in our firm, but also the community. So I feel very lucky to be there. Mason McCoy works there as well, and it's been a great experience. I've had a lot of really great people to learn from and guide me, and I really appreciate that.
I imagine there's some people that think you don't have a lot of opportunities to be a judge or to, advance if you want to be a judge. But we have lots of Supreme Court justices and Court of Appeals judges that came from rural Iowa.
Oh, absolutely.
A lot of them are from several small towns, especially like in southwest Iowa, and two are from Carroll,
Right.
which is, to me that was a big city, but to most people it's probably
Right.
a small town. But that doesn't stop you from advancing if you want to do something like that for your career, which is incredible.
Yes. Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And I didn't know all the history, of course, when I first joined, but just learning it and being able to talk to all those people and really learn from them has been really valuable for me.
What do you think? Is there anything you can think of that law schools could do to better advise students that want to go into rural practice?
Yeah, I think just promoting it more, is one of the very important things. Like I said, when I was in law school, I don't think it was promoted very much. And I think if it was, I would have thought about it sooner. I think some of my colleagues would have also considered it. I know I had some friends who their first or second summers stayed in Des Moines, worked at even some big firms downtown, and then after those summers quickly were like, I don't think that's for me. And they were like, what are other options? And after talking to a few of them, they're like, maybe I will reach out to some smaller firms outside of Des Moines, and they did, and now they're also in the surrounding area.
That's amazing.
Yes.
So you had an impact on getting more people to rural Iowa.
Maybe a small impact, not quite as much as you maybe, but I think just promoting it, and I think exactly what you've been doing, and I think there's a lot of really great things coming that also promote it, not even just at the law schools, but outside of, and I think we're moving in the right direction to hopefully see more attorneys enter the rural areas.
I just think that's so great, because I think when you go into law school, it's hard to know exactly what you want to do.
Yes.
I mean, practicing law is nothing like being in law school,
right.
And probably most professions are a lot like that, but it's nice to be exposed to a lot of different things, because rural practice isn't for everybody. You're
Right.
practicing in a big firm, going in-house isn't for everybody. So it's nice to have those opportunities that you can talk to attorneys that are actually doing this work, and it might at least give you a sense
Absolutely.
of, that I really don't want to do that, or, maybe I should check that out.
Oh, absolutely.
So when you went to intern, what was your first day like?
That's a good question. I wish I could go back to my first day. I got a tour of the office, which our office is sort of like a maze. Sometimes I still get lost. So I got a tour of the office. They took me over to the courthouse. I met all of the courthouse personnel, recorder, assessor, auditor, clerk of court, of course. And then I got to sit in on some client meetings, with the practicing attorneys, and that was a great experience. Of course, I was very confused and intimidated at first, but it was nice to be able to get some FaceTime with clients because I knew that that's what I would be doing. Seeing what these attorneys were doing is what I was going to be doing if I joined this firm. So it was really important to see that process and see how they interacted and things like that. And I think that really impacted how I felt about rural practice and joining that firm specifically.
Did the community reach out, or did the community do anything to welcome you, or did the attorneys there try to help kind of integrate you into Osceola? Because sometimes it's hard to, a small town's pretty close-knit.
Oh, yes.
You know, and so you've got to have opportunities to meet people.
Definitely.
What happened for you?
Yeah, definitely. They especially connected me with our local businesses that we work very frequently with, including our investment advisor in town and the banks and realtors and things like that, which was really important. And I still have a lot of those connections to this day and use those people very frequently. So I really appreciated that. Otherwise, I mean, the town 4th of July celebration. My husband and family and I are going to that this summer, and it's really nice to be able to be a part of the community and foster those relationships even outside of work.
That's the part that I like.
Yes,
You know,
definitely.
rural Iowa with it, just the small town things that you see your friends at and your neighbors at, and it really makes a nice close-knit community.
Absolutely.
That first supper, what type of work did you do, or what things did you get to do?
I started out doing a lot of research and kind of just getting acclimated to the firm and what the partners were working on. And then as I was there longer, I was, like I said, meeting with clients, with the attorneys, and then I got to start drafting things for the attorneys, which I found really interesting and fun. And I felt like I was then helping make an impact in doing what I, like I said, would be doing in the future, which I really appreciated. And I liked being able to get my hands wet right away. I think that's something that a lot of my classmates maybe didn't get to do their first summer, so I felt lucky in that aspect.
That was what I was going to ask you. How did your experience compare to some of your friends that did stay in Des Moines or another city and do a different type of practice?
Well, I think another thing that maybe probably differed from my classmates who stayed in Des Moines was my law firm sent me to watch local trials throughout the summer. Not trials that we were involved in, but just trials they knew were going on. So I could meet with the other attorneys that were there that day, with the judge that was there that day. So I really got to get out into what was going on locally, even outside of my firm. So my firm was willing to give up that time that I was maybe helping them so I could connect with people, network, and also learn from these attorneys and judges.
And that's really important because especially, well, in all legal communities, but in rural Iowa, getting connected with the other attorneys in town and business people is
Absolutely.
so important. The client relationships are very personal.
Yes.
And to me, that makes it more fun.
Oh, absolutely.
When you get to personally be with your clients and get to see them and
agree.
learn about their lives and everything, it makes it a lot more rewarding.
I completely agree. And it's really fun to work with clients through a lot of different aspects of their life, because at our firm, we're able to help them with real estate. We're able to help them with estate planning. We're able to then help them with taxes or even family law or the death of a loved one. So I think just fostering those connections throughout different stages of their life are wonderful. And then seeing them outside of the office, like I was saying, then we have that personal connection too. It doesn't always have to be about work and what's going on in their life, but also just saying hi and seeing what's going on with them and what's going on with me too.
That's great, because they care about you too.
Exactly,
I
they
have
do.
clients that call and we'll talk for 5 minutes about what's going on in each other's lives before we ever
Exactly.
talk about legal issues.
No, exactly. I had a client, I had helped him with taxes this year, and he stopped in the other day to drop something off, and he was like, "How's your house coming along?" And I had forgotten I even told him that my husband and I were building a house, and just thought that was so kind of him to remember that and to follow up and ask about that. And it just reminded me of how important these clients are to me, but also maybe how important I am to them.
Yeah, that's a great relationship to have.
It really is.
Yeah, that's so special. That's what I really like with some of my clients too. But
Yes.
it's just really having that relationship
Yes.
is so important. And it's really important to them too, as they go through crisis in their lives. They already know you, they're comfortable with you,
Right.
you know a lot of their history, and it has to make it easier for them to deal with some things when they have
Right.
somebody they already trust.
Right. I hope so. I do. Yeah.
Great. So how long have you been practicing?
I graduated from law school last year, and then I successfully passed the bar exam and was sworn in September of last year. So not quite a year. I'm almost to that year mark.
You told me earlier something you got to do in your first week that's pretty shocking to me.
Yes. So I got sworn in on a Thursday in September, and then I showed up to work that Friday, and Mason of our office said, hey, I have an eviction hearing next Friday. I have another hearing I have to be at. So do you think that's something you can handle for me? And I said, well, I don't know, but I can try. And he filled me in. He really prepped me for that and gave me everything I needed. He informed the client that I would be there for them, a long-time firm client. And so the following Friday, I showed up to an eviction hearing, and I was successful in that. And I was very nervous, but I felt very prepared. Mason prepared me very adequately, and I was very lucky to get that experience. I think very hands-on, and it was wonderful.
You know, some attorneys that are associates don't get to even do anything in a courtroom for years sometimes.
Right.
So that's a very great experience to have within your first week.
Yes, it was. It was great. And it's funny because when I was in law school, I didn't think that I wanted to be in the courtroom at all. I thought I would be better suited to draft paperwork and be more behind the scenes. And that quickly changed as I was in rural practice, but it's been a really great experience, and I'm glad I've had that opportunity now, and I think it's something that I'll continue with.
Do you do some litigation now, or are you in court?
Mostly, if I'm in court, it's mostly for family law right now. And so far, that's been going all right, so we'll see.
What do you think, is there something that rural law firms can do to help them get more attorneys interested in coming to rural Iowa?
Something that I've been doing, and I think would be really nice and hopefully help get other attorneys to come to rural Iowa, is I've been meeting with some local high school students, showing them around our office, around the courthouse, because I never had that opportunity when I was in high school. So I hope maybe if we're able to connect with those high school students early and show them, hey, this is right here. Like, you could stay here close to family, you could stay in this small town, and this is what it could look like for you. I hope that maybe will foster some more students coming back to these rural areas and continuing to help our rural communities.
Our new YLD president, Aaron Jones, he had a letter in our last Iowa Lawyer magazine,
Yes.
which is the bar publication we publish every month. But he cited an article that there was a study done where most people decide what they want to do, or lots of people do, in high school.
Oh, yes.
So I think that's a great idea. We have to reach out to at least high school students, if not younger, to start planting that seed.
I think so too. I think that that's really important.
Do you think your lifestyle is any different than friends of yours that maybe practice in a city?
I think that working in the rural setting really provides a good work-life balance. My entire firm is very family-oriented, so we're all, if we need to leave for a family function or we have something going on, we're able to do that. I think also, like, clients are very understanding of that in the rural setting. They are also very family-oriented most of the time, so I really appreciate that. I also think rural practice maybe leads to, like, more healthy communication in the firm. We're all working very closely together, which I appreciate. I know that if I have a question, I can go to either of the partners in the office, and they're there to answer that question. And if they don't know, they know how to figure that question out. So it doesn't feel like I'm just out by myself, like trying to figure things out, which I was scared is what it would feel like, and I'd have to just fend for myself, but I have those resources, which I really appreciate.
Okay, so a question we hear a lot. Okay, do you actually have a social life? I mean, you're out in rural Iowa.
Yes, I do. I have a very good social life, and I'm very lucky to be in the community I'm in because they have a lot of things going on. And I was just telling someone that my legal assistant and I walked down the square the other day for lunch, and we're sitting outside eating at the local deli, and we were just chit-chatting and ran over lunch a little bit, and we're just there, and clients were stopping by and saying hi. And so even just that, but also, like I was saying, like, my family's going to the 4th of July celebration, and we feel very lucky to be in the community we're in and have the social life that we have.
because that's what we hear is
Yes.
people, and you're close enough too. In most rural communities, if you want to come to a play or something like that, you can drive to Des Moines and do that.
Oh, absolutely.
But then you get to go back to this cool area and have all the benefits of that.
No, I often come up to Des Moines after work because I'm close enough, I would say, and I meet with my friends and go to dinner and see them. And even this morning, I got coffee with a friend who works up here, so I feel very fortunate to have that.
Are there any downsides to rural practice that you've seen, or things you wish were different?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know necessarily if it's a downside, but I would say a lot of clients have a lot of things going on in their life, and in a rural setting, they hope that you have a lot of those answers, and especially being a young attorney, I don't have a lot of those answers. So I don't know necessarily that it's a downside, but it forces me to figure out answers or find a way to figure them out for clients, or at least point them to a resource that can help them. Because I think they turn to attorneys in small towns often as maybe a catch-all, like solve all of my problems, which is a great thing for attorneys, but I think sometimes it puts us in a spot like, I've never dealt with that before. I'm not quite sure what the answer is, but I can try to figure it out for you.
That shows what a trusted advisor you are, though.
Right.
Because lots of times I'll have clients call me too, and it's not necessarily a legal issue.
Right.
But I'm sure in rural communities, that's probably, you're closer to your clients lots of times, so I'm sure you get asked a lot of those questions and can point them to the right resources.
Yes.
What's the biggest misconception about rural practice?
I think one of the biggest misconceptions, and I think it's talked about quite a bit, is that you either have to do like a general practice or you just specialize in one thing. Because I think people either think, oh, if you're in a rural town, you have to do everything. Or they think, oh, you just do real estate or probate. But I think there's a very happy medium, and I think it's different for a lot of rural attorneys. One of the nice things about our law firm is that right now there's 3 of us. Bob's phasing into retirement, but we can do a lot of different things because we have 3 people, which is a lot sometimes for a rural town, and we have the bandwidth and the brain power to do that, where maybe like one of our colleagues down there just specializes in real estate and probate. So I think a misconception is that it has to be one or the other, but I think you can do pretty much whatever you want to do. It doesn't have to be a certain way in the rural town.
If you could tell law students one thing about rural practice, what would you tell them?
I would say, and especially from personal experience, just to try it out. That's the position I was in. It was presented to me to intern or to interview at least at this rural law firm, and I'm glad that I said yes. And if I didn't say yes, I may be working in Des Moines, and nothing wrong with that. I just think the opportunities I've had from working in the rural area and the connections I've made are so valuable to me and really important to me now.
Where do you see your practice or your life in 10 years from now?
That's a good question. I don't know. I really enjoy the work that I'm doing, and I hope that as a young attorney, I'm kind of just taking on what I take on and helping my clients with what they need. But I hope I'm able to really figure out maybe things that I do really well and maybe focus on those a little bit more, or something along those lines, I hope. My husband, like I said, my husband and I are building a house closer down to the area, so I hope to stick around the area and continue to help my clients, and like I was saying, really hone in on maybe where my skill set lies. So I'm looking forward to what the future holds.
Thank you so much. Do you have any final thoughts or anything else you'd like our listeners to know?
Well, I would just say also just like lean on your support system. I think that's what I've had to do a lot, especially when I was trying to figure out if I should go to rural Iowa, if I should apply other places. I think my family, my husband, my classmates, my mentors were really big assets in helping me decide that. And without them, I may be doing something completely different. So I'm really lucky to have my support system. And I think just leaning on that support system is one of the most important things.
Well, thank you, Allie. This has been a pleasure. I really enjoyed getting to meet you a year ago, and this has just been so much fun.
Yes, likewise. Thank you, Kathy.
Yeah.
I really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. So this has been Law on a Gravel Road. It's more than a workforce challenge. It's about the future of Iowa's communities and its citizens. So thank you for listening and viewing, and we'll be coming up with more episodes, and I appreciate your support. This has been Kathy Law for Law on a Gravel Road.